So in terms of the overall overview of our project and looking at the visual we have here about the architecture of our project, looking at the most left column, we see that the possible inputs that we're going to be focusing on are the user login ID. So that goes in and ties directly with the roster as well, because when the user logs into our website design or Chrome extension or whatever, they're going to be inputting this roster of like player names, so that when we look at the possible outputs on the most extreme right, we see that we're going to be setting up visuals for trends or player matchups, and those are based off of the predictions that we've made with the fantasy points. And so because this is more about, this deals a lot more with like prediction, we're looking more at a regression kind of problem versus a classification based problem. And so a lot of that will rely on certain ML algorithms that will be doing like almost like a trial and error kind of thing to see like which models go together. A lot of the technical components that Alan was talking about earlier relies on feature extraction as well. And there'll be heavy components of obviously testing, training, and splitting the data. And like we were talking about earlier, because the data is not necessarily just pulled from like one source, and it's not just easy to just look at one data set like in one go. We're going to have to be constantly looping through the system and getting feedback from the external system, and like updating our data sets while we build our model throughout the next few weeks. And so we're looking at CSV files for long-term storage, and possibly like Excel files, but for now it's CSV files. And yeah, that's the overall overview of what we're trying to do. And in terms of what we will be doing next within the next few weeks, week one is just trying to get the ground running with our project. So we're going to be setting up our GitHub account, starting to think about what sources we want to focus on in terms of data collection. We were debating to look at sites from like the NBA versus ESPN, and we're just trying to like get familiar with like what data sets we want to use. Also just starting to brainstorm, what features we might want to think about later when we actually pick them for a model. And then also on the side, learning about web scraping and understanding, how to use tools like Beautiful Soup to actually get and collect that data. And then in week two, we're going to be focusing more on actually cleaning the data. And that's a big chunk of like our project, and to be honest, with any data science project in the real world. And we want to get it to the level where we can actually model and build our pipeline from the data that we've cleaned. And we're also going to start making our own separate individual visualizations, so that we can understand what correlations we're looking for, so that can help us with the feature analysis part of later, which goes into weeks 3 and 4 with the model building. And so this will probably take about 2 weeks, just because we're going to be testing different features, experimenting with different types of ML models, optimizing parameters. And so should hopefully, like, we're going to get like all hands on deck and kind of take about a few weeks for that. And then the rest of the weeks will be decided based on how far we get in terms of progress. But thank you for watching, and we look forward to presenting you this fancy project. Yeah.
I love everything.